This week, I want to really focus on how to actually make sure you've set up your business to hit the goals you wanted to hit this year. We're hitting July. This is the third quarter of the year, and it's really the perfect time to look back at the first 2 quarters in your business and make sure we're actually moving the right direction and pivot in your business if you need to pivot so you can actually make things go the way you want them to. The very first thing we're going to talk about today, though, is mindset and motivation, because I know that at the bottom of every failure, at the bottom of every stop or barrier you run into in your business is some kind of purpose that you intended to achieve that your own energy is holding back. And I know nobody likes to hear that because we all want to be able to point at something else and say, it's that thing that's causing me to fail. But at the end of the day, it's really you and me, right? It's us actually looking internally and going, okay, what was my original purpose for this? Why did I want to hit that goal? What was it going to do for me? What was it going to do for my life to make it possible for me to achieve X, Y, Z, right? Like I always tell my clients, and Michelle, Ben, you guys can probably attest to this. I always say a revenue goal is not a goal. A revenue goal is a target. It's just a milestone. It's something you're trying to accomplish. It's not a goal. A goal is an actual reason for having your business, right? Money is not a reason. Money is something we need in order to achieve a goal. So maybe that money is going to give you more relaxation. Maybe it's going to give you more time with your family. Maybe you have someone in your family who has special needs and you wish you could be there for them, right? Whatever that reason is, money is just a tool that we use to accomplish it. So if we're not hitting the money goals, then we have to remember that that's not the goal at all, and go back a little bit and remember, why did we want to accomplish that? And has that purpose gotten squashed or sat on or removed in some way? Maybe your intention is actually shifted and you've decided that you don't really want it so much anymore. And we have to really align that before we're going to actually accomplish the goal. So we're going to talk about mindset, we're going to talk about motivation, and then we're also going to talk about the nitty-gritty details. So in case you guys are coming into the challenge, you've never done a challenge with me before, I want to share one thing with you. This is the challenge workbook. If you registered for the challenge this week, then you can find this in your email inbox. If you can't find it, then comment below and myself or one of my team members will go ahead and email it to you. And if you did get it, then please go ahead and download it and ideally print it off, because there's actually some preparatory work I wanted you guys to do ahead of the challenge. Now, again, there's no shame in just starting it today. That's not a problem, but it is important to do these steps for you to get everything out of this week, okay? So let's just walk through what those steps are really fast. I wanted you to review the goals that you had set for the year. And remember, like I said, revenue is not a goal. Revenue is a target, and it's okay to write down how much money you need in order to accomplish your goal, but your goal is your goal, right? It's a big dream. It's a thing that it's actually going to motivate you and make you want to accomplish something. Just as a quick by note, one of my goals and the reason why I started my business back in 2018, I was a full-time business consultant for a corporate company, right? Most of my clients then and now are 6- and 7-figure business owners, but I'm going to just tell you guys right now, I was making $22 an hour with no benefits as a business consultant, which is ridiculous, right? When you think about the fact that that company was charging $35,000 or more per year to every one of my clients. So if you think about it, it was like, okay, clearly I was not doing it for the money. I was doing it because I love what I do and I wanted to help those business owners. I got to see every single day, just like I do now with you guys. I get to see every day life-changing results from helping someone grow their business, helping them come over the barriers and things like that, and then smooth things out in their life, and their family starts doing better, they start doing better, they come off of medications and like all kinds of amazing results from just helping someone iron out the problems in their business. So obviously I wasn't doing it for the money, but at the end of the day, there are certain goals that Ben and I have as a family that we want to accomplish. And on top of that, I have always had a really strong desire to help people with human rights, right? Human rights, there's 35 of them in case you're not familiar, and they include things like, I mean, there's human trafficking still happening in the world, right? There's people who cannot feed their families. And I have always felt a big, strong reason to help with that. And what's interesting is in 2018, as I was kind of getting a little bit frustrated with my income level, I also hit this wall where I have charitable organizations in 6 different African countries at the time. And my volunteers were clamoring for help. They were clamoring for more donations. They were clamoring for more of my time. And I hit this wall where, because my income was that low, I did not have any more to donate to them. I did not have any more time to give to them. And it was hurting my soul and hurting my heart to have come so far and built so much in 6 different African countries, some of which I've never even visited, and knowing how much we were changing people's lives, and then be stopped by this wall of income. So it's not to say that money doesn't matter, right? I'm not saying that you shouldn't make more money in your business. I'm simply saying at the end of the day, when I don't make my revenue goals, and I'm feeling defeated, or I'm feeling like, oh, I don't know if I can do this, right? All the self-doubt that happens to all of us. I don't go back to, well, how much money did I want to make? Like, that doesn't motivate me, right? I go to, what was I planning to spend that money on? And I go talk to my volunteers in different countries, and I message them and I say, hey, send me your success stories, send me more photos. And I spend some time actually remembering why I started this business, because I started taking, business owners on the side outside of my corporate company, and I had to do it in a very special way so I wouldn't violate my non-compete, right? But I started taking these side jobs and then eventually started my own firm because I wanted to be there for my volunteers, right? And at the end of the day, when things are not going well in my business, or I'm not hitting the goals I want, it's that thought that gets me off my tush and makes me go try harder and makes me go solve the problems, right? That's what motivates me. So you have to go find the thing that originally motivated you to start this business. And if you can't find that thing, then work with someone. I'm a certified life coach. We can jump on a call one-on-one and we can dig in and we can go find that moment when you actually had a real motivational reason for doing this business. And then we can actually isolate the reasons why it stopped being so motivating. And usually they're around these 3 things. And I want you guys to write these down. They were either 1, some kind of upset that occurred, right? Someone pissed you off, someone upset you, someone scammed you, some kind of upset occurred and you went, oh, I don't want that anymore, right? Very natural human reaction. 2, there's a problem. There's a problem or a distraction in your environment, some barrier you couldn't overcome, and you started to feel like the barrier was bigger than you were. But here's the secret. There's no barrier in the universe that's bigger than you are. And I think that's something a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners forget. They start to feel like the barrier is bigger than them. But regardless, I'm not even going to get into the religious end of it because my religious beliefs may be different than yours, but I want you to know from the bottom of my heart, every time I've treated a business owner, just professionally as a business consultant, as though they were bigger than the problem, it has solved the problem. Okay, so to me, that's all the proof I need. Regardless of my religious beliefs or your philosophical beliefs, at the end of the day, it works. When you think of yourself as bigger than the problem, and you go, I can solve that problem. I'm going to go get 2 problems that big just to prove I can. And you make yourself be bigger than the problem, you end up solving that problem. So that's number 2, is you'll have problems or barriers that get in the way. And then number 3, the third thing that can get in the way is, these little mistakes that we made. Usually it starts out with a little mistake. It's sins. It's things that you feel guilty about. Right? You're like, well, I said I was going to work on my business, but then I ended up wanting to watch Netflix for an hour. And then that hour turns into 2, and it turns into 5, and it turns into 10, right? And after a while, you start feeling so guilty for the little stupid things that you did instead of working on your business, that guilt eats into your motivation, okay? The only way to come back from that is to just be honest with yourself and be honest with the people around you and kind of clear the air a little bit and move on. Because at the end of the day, even if last month you spent 1 hour on your business and the other 45 hours you could have spent, you watched Netflix, it's still a new day today, okay? So these are the 3 things that can get in the way of you actually accomplishing that goal. So step 1 of the preparatory work for this workshop, which was not even the training I wanted to cover today, but just the workshop preparatory work, was review the goals you had set and really make sure you know what your motivational reason for doing this business or hitting those goals was, okay? Just write that down in the space here. And then mark which goals you actually accomplished already this year. Like I know for some of my clients who are in the room, Ben had a goal to move out to Florida with me and restart his business from scratch in a new location. And we've done that, right? Have we hit all the goals we wanted to hit this so far this year? No, but you do need to pause and take a win on the things you have already accomplished, right? The second thing is reassessing your 3-year goals. So you have things you want to accomplish this year, but again, take a look at the bigger picture. Take a look at how making these goals happen right now is going to cause and make possible the things you want in 3 or 5 or 10 years. Ben and I were on a call just, was it last night, Ben, with someone who was realizing in the call that if they had just accomplished what they wanted when they first set that goal, like 5 or 10 years ago, everything would have been possible now. But because they're starting so late to actually start hitting their goals, it was almost impossible to make the early retirement that they wanted to have happen. Like we were looking at the numbers and they were astronomical only because they had started a little bit too late. So don't let that happen to you. Like start hitting your goals now and start having the self-discipline to actually make them happen. Actually keep searching for answers and keep asking for help if you need it, and keep getting trained yourself in how to be a better executive, a better business owner, better salesperson, whatever that skill is that you're lacking. Keep working on it until you actually hit it, and don't give up. I think that's the biggest thing that I see with business owners is they just give up. And I hate to say it because it sounds terrible, but at the end of the day, there's no such thing as failure, guys. There really is no such thing as failure as a business owner, because we have pivoting. We have the ability to go, nope, that's the wrong direction. I'm gonna 360 degrees go the other direction, and you still haven't failed, you just pivoted. So the only way you can actually fail as a business owner is to give up and just decide, nope, I don't wanna do this anymore. And at the end of the day, the person you're really failing in that moment is yourself, because you set that goal. It's your job to actually make it happen, right? And self-discipline is a muscle. Like, go ask my fitness trainer. You know, she'll tell you right away that the only way you're gonna get fit is to actually work out, right? Then sorry, you know, you can diet all you want, you can stop eating, you can take crazy pills and things like that, and you might shrink, but you're not going to get that toned look, right? Unless you actually exercise. It's the same with business. You can follow every get-rich-quick scheme out there, but if you aren't actually exercising the muscle of self-discipline, including your own inner dialogue and how you talk to yourself and how you deal with your own lack of motivation, right? You're not going to make it. So just remember that when you're starting to, again, to get distracted or feeling like, oh, I don't really want to work an extra hour today on my business, just remember that if you start early enough, pretty much any goal you set this year is still possible. And that's why I like doing this in July, because you still have 6 whole months. It's still absolutely possible for you to achieve every goal you set for this year. I'm going to show you how this week. Okay, so that's the pre-work that hopefully a lot of you guys did. I also wanted you to compile your numbers. So drop it in the chat for me. Let me know who compiled their numbers for this year, the revenue that you had, the number of client starts or sales, whatever that is in your business, etc., and compared it to the first 6 months of 2020. Did anybody do that homework beforehand? I know I'm putting you all on the spot. Okay, well, we'll see if anybody did. If you didn't get a chance, oh, Ben got those numbers done. Go, Ben. Good. As a family, we got to set a good example here. I did it. Hopefully that counts. If you didn't get it done already, then do that comparison. And what we're looking for, just so you guys know, if you're a new business owner, you've never done this kind of comparison before, we're looking for the number difference. So like, okay, I made 50,000 last year in the first 6 months, and this year I made 70,000, so that's a $20,000 difference, right? And then we're also looking for percentage of growth. So if you're not a big fan of math, you can just go to calculator.net and ask them what your percentage of growth is, and they've got some really great calculators to make that happen. Good. Bree also got some of the numbers done. Good. Michelle, I'm curious, did you happen to look at any of your numbers this year versus last year?
I didn't, but I'm really in the process of starting to compile all of that. So
Good.
that's definitely work in progress for me.
Cool. Good. Yeah. The more you work on it, the more smooth it'll become, because again, you can make a lot of smart business decisions when you understand whether you're making growth or you're going the wrong direction, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so then the other thing I wanted you guys to do as prep work for this workshop is figure out what has worked so far in 2021 and what hasn't worked. So this is, again, where we really have to confront those numbers. Numbers can be very powerful in your business. I think a lot of people feel that they're kind of an unsexy subject, right? And so they don't really like to confront it. But if you really look at it and you go, okay, well, I ran that promotion, or I ran that ad, or I've invested all my time into XYZ, and by the end of the month, or by the end of 3 months, whatever that time period was, did your numbers go up, or did they go down, or did they stay the same? Right? At the end of the day, it's very cut and dry, and it can really help you make some smart business decisions when you understand how to look at those graphs, right? Now, when I say graphs, a lot of people ask, like, what do you mean by that? So if you haven't already attended my business analytics course, then I want to show you just a little example of what a statistics dashboard looks like, okay? Let's take a real example here. Okay, good. So this one is an actual client that I have who gave me permission to share their numbers. And I'm going to get it up on the screen here in 1 second. Good. So hopefully you guys can see that on the screen. And so as you can see, we just are tracking the main numbers in their business, right? Collections, how much money they actually make every month, right? New clients, very important. Number of office visits, because they have a physical location, so that's important. We got to know how many bodies are flowing in and out of the shop every week, right? Total production. The reason why we keep production and collections is because this is a healthcare practice. And so because of that, they actually might bill a certain amount, and then the insurance might pay a different amount. So how much they think they're producing and then how much money they actually get to collect at the end of the month can be very different numbers. So we want to measure that gap and make sure that if there's one insurance company in particular that's really not paying, you know, it's paying pennies on the dollar or something, it might be worthwhile to drop that insurance coverage. So that's the kind of thing that you want to keep track of based off of your business type, right? So based off of your business type, you might have completely different statistics you'd be tracking. But these are some of the key ones. The amount of income coming in, this might be revenue or collections, however you want to call it, number of new clients, and then numbers that add up to those. So like office visits are obviously going to, between new clients and office visits, I can tell immediately why collections is going up or down, right? Net income is another one which we want to keep. Now, with a business like this, they get this data from their CPA or their accountant only once a quarter. So as you can see, I don't have the last 3 months for them. But that's another really important number for me to know as a business consultant, and for them to know as an owner, is at the end of the day, you know, collections might have gone up, but was I profitable? Right? So this kind of graph shows us profitability by having a line through it that shows us whether they actually beat their expenses that month or not. So that's what I mean when I'm talking about statistics and numbers dashboard. It really gives us a visual on the business and allows us to see problem spots as they arise, so we can handle them, right? Okay, so all of that to say, this is the preparatory work. These are the things you're going to want to have done to really get the most out of this week. But let's talk about today and what we're going to be covering. Again, I'm going to show you the workbook, which hopefully you've downloaded by now. One quick tip for anybody who's interested in earning a bonus today. If you share the link to this challenge on Facebook or Instagram and you tag me, Sarah Nicole Nadler, and I put how to tag me at the bottom depending on whether you're on Instagram or Facebook, I'm going to give you a free copy of my book, The CEO Mindset. Okay, so anybody who tags me and shares that link, you can either tag me or you can use the hashtag #ReInspire2021 if you don't want to tag me directly. But I'm going to just give you a copy. That's all you have to do is just share it, because I really want to have a lot of people in this challenge this week. I think it's way more fun when we have lots of people. I mean, look how many people we have today. We've got Bree, we've got Michelle, we've got Ben, we've got Alex, right? It's been great having everybody here. We get lots more comments and engagement. It's just way more fun. So I want your friends, I want your colleagues here. And if you want a free copy of my latest book, go for it. You can just, all you got to do is tag me, okay? All right, so let's get into the challenge for today. This is directly out of the book I was just talking about. I want to talk about the 3 key components, the 3 things that you really need in order to actually accomplish your goals in business, okay? The very first one is, it's CEO. This is how you remember it, right? The very first one is control. Control is, I think, one of the things that most business owners feel like they have the least amount of in their business, right? You can't control the clients and what they do. You can't control whether your ad does anything, right? Like, there's all of these things that seem outside of our control. But here's the trick, right? First of all, you have to have the attitude that it is possible to control things. And that really is a mindset, because if you have the attitude that fate or even God is the total reason why things happen in your practice or in your business, you're going to make a lot of mistakes as a business owner. And I want to refer you back, for my Christian clients here, to the Bible, where, you know, we have multiple examples. I have quotes in my book, if you want to go read them, on how God doesn't just throw things in our lap, right? Same with fate or kismet, or, you know, if you're Hindu, it doesn't matter what your religious beliefs are. As a business owner, we have to assume some responsibility for things, right? Like, knock and you will receive, per the Bible, right? Okay, well, you still got to knock first. You got to go knock on the right doors in order to receive. So really taking a look at that as a business owner and thinking back to, what are the things that I feel are out of my control as a business owner? And looking at that and going, okay, what skill set am I missing that makes that seem out of my control? Because usually, in my experience, that's what's missing. As a business consultant, I've been doing business consulting for over a decade. I've been a business owner since I was 14 years old, right? And I can tell you right now, every single time I thought something was completely out of my control, there was simply some missing skill set. And I've actually made a list now of the 35 plus skill sets every business owner needs. And if you went and took that quiz on my website, I tell you right now, if you are struggling in your business, you would find that the same struggles you're having are the same skill sets you're missing, right? Because if you know the technology of how to do something, and you do it, you use it, right? If you have that skill and you use that skill, you cannot possibly be the adverse effect of that thing, right? A great example of this is, let's take COVID, right? You go, COVID wasn't under my control. She's crazy. There's nothing I could have done. My business was shut down. Well, I'll tell you an interesting story. I had a client. He was actually a past client at this point. He had done a lot of training with me, been a consulting client for a while, and then he decided not to re-sign. And then COVID hit. And he was actually doing very well. He had multiple staff, single location business, but doing really well successfully in New York City, right? COVID hit. Obviously, his business was completely shut down, but he was smart. He'd been trained by me. He knew what he was doing. So he was like, oh, I got to pivot. I know I need to pivot. So he goes ahead and he pivots, right? He goes and he sets up a filming area in his home, and he tells all his staff, okay, guys, I'll be at home, sitting at home. I want you guys to be at home. He made his receptionist answer the phone from home, and he said, I'll just be sitting there ready to take appointments from home. It's not going to be a big deal. We can still do this, right? I'm not going to furlough you guys. We're going to keep you on the payroll. We're going to do this. And then it was crickets. He did not get a single call. And he was sitting there tearing his hair out going, why am I not getting any calls? And he started to think, right? He started to have that self-doubt, like, well, maybe it's just COVID. Maybe I have no control over it. Maybe I am going to have to furlough my staff. Maybe I can't do this. Maybe I can't do that. But he gave it one last shot. He called me, okay? And ironically, I think this was actually fate to some degree. He called me and I didn't answer. So I had to call him back. And I'm really glad that happened. Do you know why? Because when I called him back, nobody picked up the phone. It was 9 to 5. His receptionist was quote unquote working from home, but she didn't answer the phone. And then on top of that, right, anybody could miss a call, but she not only didn't answer the phone, but she had changed the voicemail on his phone, his office line, and it went on and on and on for 45 seconds. It went on for so long, I hung up and tried again and timed it just to see how long this voicemail was. For 45 seconds, it went on and on about, we're so sorry we can't see you right now. We're closed. We're really going to miss you. It just went on and on and on about everything he couldn't do for them. Now, what's that as a marketing message? Drop it in the chat. What message does that push when you're saying, I'm so sorry, we're closed, we can't see you, the doctor's not available, blah, 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 blah. That's basically the marketing message of go away, we won't help you, right? And yet he was sitting at home ready to talk to everybody over Zoom or whatnot. And finally, after 45 seconds, because remember, I timed it, it finally said at the very end, oh, by the way, if you have an emergency, the doctor is available. Here's his cell phone number. Now, how many patients do you think actually waited 45 seconds to the end and then wrote down his cell phone number, right? Clearly, none of them did because he was sitting at home with nothing to do. So at the end of the day, the skill set that was missing, right, was not a skill set he was lacking. It was actually his front desk person. She lacked self-discipline, so she was off doing whatever she was doing at home when she was on the clock and she should have been answering the phone, right? And two, she lacked the skill of marketing. So she didn't actually understand at first what she had done wrong, right? And so she needed to act, she wasn't even disciplined at the end of the day. We didn't even discipline her. We simply trained her on marketing enough that she understood why what she had said on the voicemail was wrong, right? And when she thought that through, she went, oh, wow, and she was really embarrassed and felt bad. But at the end of the day, that little tiny mistake was what was causing his statistics to go down to 0, right? It wasn't COVID that caused it. It was this lack of understanding on this part of his staff of how to market and have a good voicemail, right? And when I went on his website, it was the same thing. There was this big pop-up that said, we're going to miss you. We're closed because of COVID-19, and didn't say anything about the services he could still provide, right? So at the end of the day, looking at the skill sets, looking at the things that will make you actually able to cause an effect in the area that you're struggling in. Now, I've been asked multiple times, what are the biggest problems the biggest things that hold people back in being motivated enough to actually achieve their goals? And I'm going to tell you, there's 2 lies that you've probably heard somewhere out there, right? The first lie is this concept that goals and dreaming and, taking time to create vision boards and stuff like that, it's all fluffy, That's what I've been told, right? It's all fluff. It doesn't really matter. It's not going to do anything for you. You just need to get to work and start working on your business. And you know what? That's actually a complete lie. You have to have an underlying reason to do this job, right? Because you don't have a boss. There is nobody who's going to come along and say, you didn't make your quota, you're fired, or you don't get to go home on time tonight, you have to stay and get something done. At the end of the day, you are your own boss, and if you don't have a big enough motivation and reason to be there, then you will find excuses and all kinds of distractions to prevent you from actually achieving your goals, okay? One of my favorite quotes by Brian Tracy, goals are the fuel in the furnace of achievement. Goals are the fuel in the furnace of achievement. So my question to you today is, are you actually feeding any fuel into your furnace, right? When was the last time you actually refilled the gas in your car, right? You're sitting on the side of the road with no gas going, I just don't feel like working on my business today. Well, when was the last time you fueled up, right? You need to go actually spend some time dreaming. Go do a daydream for a moment, like put yourself in those shoes and go, what's it gonna feel like? Get excited and think about, you know what, it's gonna be amazing because I'm gonna be able to do this and I'm gonna be able to do that, and I'm excited about it. If you're thinking about your goals or dreams and you're still in grief about it, going, I wish I could, or you're still angry because you're like, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, those emotions need to be pushed through. Don't stop the motivational process when you're in grief. Don't stop it when you're in anger. Stop it when you feel excited about your business and you're actually going, yes, this is why I decided to open this company or start this idea, even if it's still a side hustle right now, right? Dreams are the fuel in the furnace of achievement. So if you want to achieve something, you have to fuel up every now and then. Now here's the second lie that I've been told, which is that dreams and vision boarding and meditation and prayer are all you need, right? And there's plenty of people out there who are making good money teaching that lie to people. And it is a lie, because at the end of the day, he helps those who help themselves, right? You cannot manifest a business without any work. You have to actually still do the work. And so that means scheduling it into your life, right? If you have to look at your calendar and go, okay, I work 9 to 5, I clock in, I clock out, and then this time to this time is family time, and then I'm gonna work on my business between midnight and 1 a.m. Okay, fine, that's what it takes for now, then do that. I'm not saying that that's sustainable or that you should do that forever, but you have to have self-discipline as a business owner. You have to actually put in the time and put in the work to see any results. So that was another reason why I wanted you guys to do the pre-work from earlier today, because if you look at those numbers and then you do a time study analysis of how much time did I put in each month in my business, and then what were the results. Just do that one exercise and you will see a correlation between the amount of time you put in, if it's a side hustle, right, and the amount of sales, production, new clients you got back out of it, right? And then sometimes, every once in a while, 1 month will come along and you'll go, well, I put 60 hours and I got nothing. I got piddly. So what happened there? And we can work together, right, to go find where were we losing out, right? Where are we spending a lot of time and getting little result? I had one client who just last month when we met for our meeting, he had spent, I think it was something upwards of like 10 hours a week on social media trying to find new clients, And I was like, why are you doing this? It's not working, you know? But he really loves Facebook, and it ended up being one of these things where he was kind of like, what I like to call riding his favorite hobby horse, right? You ever seen these hobby horses? It's like a little horse head on a stick, and these kids, they love to ride around on their favorite hobby horse, right? So sometimes an entrepreneur or a business owner can get stuck in this mode of riding their favorite hobby horse, like doing something that they sort of pretend is working on their business when really it's just something they love to do. And I can tell you right now, I know what that's like because I fell into that trap. I can't tell you how many hours I spent building my website when I first started my business, right? I didn't get on calls with people. I didn't reach out and try to like get in front of an audience. I was totally terrified of sales. And so instead, every time I was working on my business, I just tweaked my website and made it look more pretty, right? That made me no money because there was nobody seeing my website. So it's very easy to fall into this trap. The only way to make your dreams happen is to actually do the work, actually look at the numbers, do the cost comparison, do the time comparison, and really figure out what are the skill sets I'm lacking and go study those things, okay? So this is where we're going with this whole week is we're going to actually be drawing up the vision of what you want your business to look like. And in fact, if you go to page, I think it's page 11 of the workbook, you'll see I created a worksheet for this. I want you to draw up a vision of what your business would look like, what your lifestyle would look like at the end of 2021 if you made all your goals happen. So you hit the revenue goals, you accomplished every dream that you have set for this year. What would your life and your business actually look like? When you woke up in the morning, what would you be doing? By noon, what would you have gotten done? By dinner time, what would you be doing? What would you be doing in the evenings? And actually map that out. And if you need to go on Pinterest or Google Images and create pictures and create a vision board so that it can inspire you, then do that work. Take the time to do that work because it's going to be vital mindset and motivational work for you. And then I want you to calculate out what are the monthly goals you have to hit between now and then. Okay, so I want you to actually write it down on the workbook. How much revenue do I have to hit every month between now and then? How many client starts or sales, whatever those numbers are that are going to measure your progress towards that goal. And remember, it's not the goal itself. The number is not the goal. The number is just the milestone. It's the measurement. It's like, how much did I grow? How close am I getting to that goal, right? And write down those numbers of what you have to hit each month. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to create what we call a red line graph, okay? Red line graphs are really fun. They're super easy to make, especially if you use the free software that I teach, which is usemystats.com. I have a course that will teach you how to use it if you're interested. But basically what a red line graph does is it shows how far you are away from your quota every single month. You're either above the red line or you're below it. Right? Very simple visual. And every single month, you're going to just keep looking at that red line graph until you actually hit those targets. So there's a link to Use My Stats. There's a link to the video on how to create a red line graph inside the workbook itself. I want you to turn to page 11, fill that out, create your vision and create your numbers. And then tomorrow, we're going to talk about some ways to actually attract more clients and make those goals happen. Okay? Very, very good. All right, Michelle, since you're here with me live, do you have any questions about today's training?
I don't have questions. I think, since I'm still pretty new starting with you, one thing that I really realized is that I really lack those concrete goals. That I think that's where we kind of jumped in with this whole transition to the store and the immediate needs as opposed to necessarily starting from the very beginning. And I definitely am seeing how vital that piece of it is because it directs everything else.
Yeah, it really does. So take some time, I think, this week, if you can squeeze it out, carve it out, and really figure out, like, where do I want to go with this business, right? We did talk about that a little bit, I think, in our first 2 calls, but let's iron it out more and figure out, okay, what is my life going to look like if I actually make this happen, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Cool. Good. Well, good. That would be a great thing to accomplish this week. Ben, do you have anything you want to ask or add?
No, I think this training was good. I liked it.
Thank you. Well, good. Do you want to share anything? I know you've got some pretty big goals for what you want to accomplish with your business. So I'm curious if you want to share it all.
I mean, sure. I mean, one of my biggest goals is to honestly reach more people, right? Especially people that are struggling with their finances, especially the younger crowd. I want to really dig in on how to um, capture those eyeballs, so to speak, because that's really the time where they need the help the most and where you can help them the most. So that's really one of my big goals, is to figure that out.
Cool. I love it. Good. Well, all right, guys, we will talk again tomorrow, same time, same place. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Sounds
This
good.
was great.
See you next time.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.